Good morning, everybody. You know, it's such a pleasure to be here to break ground on the I-5 North Coast Corridor project. And as my corridor director, Alan Kossop, always reminds me, it takes a village to put these projects together. And it's so great to see so much of the village here with us today on a really beautiful day in San Diego. Today's celebration marks the start of the first package of projects, which we refer to as Build NCC. Build NCC includes 14 miles of new carpool lanes on I-5, nearly 3 miles of new rail double track, 10 miles of new bike paths, the complete restoration of the San Elijo Lagoon, which you've all seen behind me, several hundred acres of preserved coastal habitat, and highway and rail bridge replacements at this lagoon, as well as the Bariquitos Lagoon at the northern end of Encinitas. This initial phase will cost $700 million, with $480 million for the freeway, $140 million for rail, and $80 million for lagoon restoration and mitigation. And we expect this to be complete sometime in 2021. Getting to this point has taken years of collaboration, and without many of you here with us today, the I-5 North Coast Corridor program would not be possible. And I really, that's not just something I'm saying, it wouldn't have been possible without everybody here today. It's an amazing, amazing project. Caltrans and Sandag work together with local, regional, state, and federal partners to design a program that will improve transportation choices, relieve congestion, enhance coastal connectivity, protect and restore critical coastal habitat, and most importantly, improve the quality of life for residents and visitors of San Diego's North County. And I'd like to point out that Build NCC, which is the first package, is just the beginning. At the end of the 40-year program, the North Coast Corridor will include the following: 27 miles of express lanes from La Jolla to Oceanside, 30 highway overcrossings, 30 with better bike and pedestrian access. 97% of the rail corridor will be double-tracked. We'll have upgraded rail stations and platforms, 27 miles of new bike and pedestrian paths, and several hundred acres of preserved coastal habitat. That sounds pretty good. That's worth clapping for. So now let's move on to our guest speaker. We've been working very closely with our first speaker since he was appointed the position of Caltrans Director in 2012. He leads the $11 billion organization and 20,000 employees who build, maintain, and operate the 50,000 lane miles of California's transportation system. And I know we have his attention down here with this project. Please help me in welcoming Caltrans Director Malcolm Doherty.
The first thing I want to talk about is collaboration, and that's already been alluded to, and Lori talked about the magnitude of this project. But the collaboration here, not only between the department and Sandag, but the Federal Highway Administration, as well as the resource agencies, specifically the Coastal Commission, on this type of project, and the California Transportation Commission, it does not happen without a lot of collaboration, and that's how you get things done. And I didn't want to overlook that on this specific project, and I think the bar was set on how successful you can be when you do that. The next point that I want to highlight is taking a corridor approach to transportation improvements. It does not sound that difficult, but it does not always happen to talk about rail improvements, active transportation and bike improvements, highway improvements, all at the same time, all in the same project. And this project is no better. There's no better project representing that corridor approach than this project. Another aspect of the corridor approach in developing this project is it's one thing to go in and improve transportation. It's another thing to go in and improve transportation, multimodal transportation, but then also improve communities and improve the environment and leave the environmental situation better after you were done rather than worse off after you were done in doing a transportation project. This project not only improves transportation multimodally, it improves communities, and it also improves the environment, specifically the lagoons that are behind us. And I commend District 11 as well as Sandag and all the partners in taking that corridor approach. And that partnership is really what enables you to do that. The next point that I wanted to talk about was innovation and a creative way of delivering this project. We're not doing this the normal way we deliver a capital project, where we design it, we put it out to build, and we do construction. We're using an innovative or an alternative delivery method called Construction Management General Contractor, CMGC, which the legislature gave us authority to do as a pilot program. but it brings the contractor on during the design phase, so they become part of the project development team, and there are several advantages to doing that. They'll help us with how they're going to construct the project. They help us in discussing how those construction methods will have impacts with getting our permits and those types of things, and they become a part of the team. It also allows us to minimize the number of change orders going forward because they help us with the constructability at the outset. And I wanted to make sure that I highlighted the innovative way that we're delivering this project as well. Now, we're at the beginning of construction, and Lori alluded to the fact that we have a lot of work ahead of us, and I want to make sure that I thank all the local communities for their collaboration to date, and now I want to ask them for their patience while we're going through construction. There's always going to be some disruption. We're going to do the best that we possibly can to minimize those disruptions to the local community. This is a very popular corridor for commuters, interregional travelers, and tourists. We will do the best that we can, and we want to make sure that we ask for your patience. And we also want to ask the motoring public to be mindful of the fact that we're doing construction and to slow down in those construction zones. It's for my employees' safety, it's for our contractors' employees' safety, and it's also for the safety of the motoring public. So we want to plead with the motoring public to be patient with us while we're doing construction as well. So with that, I want to make sure we have an opportunity to hear from all our other special guests, but I want to congratulate all who were involved in this and congratulate the San Diego region for this great project and this great approach to delivering a corridor improvement on the I-5 corridor. Thank you all for coming out and helping us celebrate this very important day.
This is an exciting occasion, one that brings us a step closer to providing continuous HOV lanes along the I-5 North Coast Corridor. It is especially exciting to break ground during a time when we are faced with competing priorities, limited budgets, and aggressive schedules to deliver projects. Further proof that partnerships do keep transportation projects moving forward. In fact, Federal Highway takes pride in seeing projects like this move forward throughout the country. Projects that reduce congestion by offering people safe and more reliable travel options. Transportation infrastructure can have a dramatic and positive impact on neighborhoods by improving the quality of life. What we are essentially doing are creating ladders of opportunity by connecting people to jobs and providing them access to goods and services. This exemplifies everything Federal Highway is trying to do through our connective measures and NPO empowerment initiatives, including everyday counts and innovative access programs. The I-5 corridor is of great national importance, and as a matter of fact, has been recognized as one of 6 national corridors of the future. Our department launched the Corridors of the Future program as a way of recognizing innovative national and regional approaches to reducing congestion and improving the efficiency of goods movement. The average daily traffic through this corridor is more than 200,000 vehicles and is expected to grow to more than 300,000 by 2030. The Federal Department of Transportation released a report called Beyond Transportation. This report shows that our country is going to have 70 million more people in just 30 years. And we will need to haul 45 more freight than we do today. This project celebrates one important step toward meeting these demands. Our expectation is that the daily commute will improve the people who live and work improve the life of people who live and work along the I-5 corridor. Again, congratulations to the many partners. Thank you for allowing Federal Highway to be a part of this wonderful celebration. And I would also like to take this time to thank my coworker, Liz Mari, who's also here representing Federal Highway. She took me on a tour of the region, and it was very beautiful, and I'm really excited to be here today. Thank you.
Our next speaker has served as county supervisor since 1994, which I believe is the same year that you had the first meeting to discuss improving I-5. He's the county's represents the county's 4th district and also serves as chair of the San Diego Association of Governments. Please welcome the Honorable Ron Roberts.
First of all, this didn't start out like a big project. It started, Mayor Hall said 1994 was a first meeting, but I don't think that was a sort of a coordinated approach. It was probably the traffic on I-5. And we've been talking about the tidal flow in these lagoons forever. I mean, that has been a major issue. What do you do to help these lagoons to be able to thrive? And then, Anybody that lives in San Diego knows that the double tracking has been an issue probably since John Spreckles' days, many, many years ago. I mean, how can you have a railroad with a single track? It means you have far less capacity, you have far lower service, you have a bunch of issues. But it was the bringing all of these together that was really unique. And these are really a significant collaboration between Sandag, between Caltrans, between the Coastal Commission and the neighboring cities and the federal government. I mean, this took a lot of people working together to coordinate this effort in a way that is not often done. This corridor is vital to our region. It's more than vital to our region. This corridor really serves as a connection between Mexico and the northern part of California. That's anything north of San Diego, Mr. Director. And really, it's an economic lifeline as well. And when you look at the goods that are flowing over this, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that those things continue to happen. And maybe, someday we'll have a railroad and a new border crossing and other things to facilitate that movement. But we still have our local residents that use this a lot. This North Coast Corridor project will expand our transportation choices and improve the movement of goods. It will also make a very significant investment to protect and enhance the environment, as Lori was just mentioning, and to preserve our quality of life. The first package of projects, which we're calling Build NCC, I like that. It's going to extend the carpool lanes on Highway 5 to relieve some of the congestion. I know Matt Hall has been significantly interested in that. And it's going to do the double tracking of the coastal rail line so that we can improve the train efficiency and restore the cherished lagoon that you see behind me here. Doing this project concurrently, all of these projects, gets us in and out of the lagoon a lot quicker, and it lessens the impacts on the environment and on the community. Although you've heard that still there's going to be impacts, and I told Lori probably get our first call tomorrow that something's been disrupted. As for improved travel choices, we're making significant investments in double tracking the rail line along the entire coast. That investment's very, very important to us because we will be able to, at some point, double track nearly 97% of the coastal rail line. That'll allow us to increase the number of trains, the frequency of trains, and it'll make taking the rail competitive with using the highway. These are really important things that this project will achieve. As part of Build NCC, we'll be double tracking just 2 miles of rail. That's extremely important. We'll be replacing the aging rail bridges over the San Elio Lagoon and also the Bataquitas Lagoon, which is just a few miles north of us here. And these bridge replacements will accommodate a new double-tracked rail line and also better the health of the lagoons by improving the tidal flow. And this is significant. An effort of this magnitude would not be possible without great partners both locally, regionally, and at the state and federal levels. You couldn't make this happen. On behalf of Sandag, I want to thank everybody who, in a very cooperative spirit, worked together to bring this project about. We are excited to see this, the start of this, and we'll be more excited, Mayor Hall, when we see the finish of this. But thank you for being here.
Thanks to the work done by our next speaker, we are here today. She was a champion of this project when she was in the Senate and now continues that work as commissioner with the CTC. And when I said it takes a village, Transportation Commissioner Christine Kehoe is a really important part of that village.
As many of you know, and as others have stated, this journey has been all about responsible planning, collaboration, compromise, and balance. I couldn't emphasize that enough. And hosting today's ceremony at this beautiful lagoon, we're all thrilled to be here. is just serves to emphasize the holistic nature and the environmental sustainability of this project, and that we will be preserving these natural resources for future generations. That assurance was made possible by two important documents, SB 438, which I authored, and which was passed by the legislature and signed by Governor Brown in 2011. And I should note here, everyone, that every aspect of that bill was monitored and managed by Deanna Spain, who worked with me at that time and now works for Senator-elect Atkins. If it takes a village to bring this project along, then I think Deanna might be mayor of the village. And then second to that was the Public Works Plan, which was approved by the Coastal Commission a few years later. And that really memorialized this whole concept of a corridor, a multimodal transportation corridor. I think of it as I think of the multiple species conservation program that was developed here in San Diego, a complex region-wide program that went on to be a model for all of California, and this corridor will be the same thing. Those documents provided a framework and an implementation plan for a balance of highway, rail, bike, pedestrian, and environmental improvements to move forward simultaneously. And now we stand ready to break ground on a suite of projects that we've heard about today that will improve travel choices and reduce travel time, we hope, and congestion, and restore this lagoon. As a California Transportation Commissioner, I know the importance of securing funding for this project. At this scale especially, our state and federal partners are critical as budgets continue to wane. And so, Director and Federal Highway Administrator, we are so glad you're here to celebrate with us. The I-5 and the Coastal Rail Line are critical economic engines for the entire state and especially for our own San Diego. It's vitally important that we continue these partnerships and work for funding for future phases. Rebuilding our infrastructure and enhancing our environment are keys to improving the quality of life in California, and they are part of San Diego's character. None of us here ever forget those things. So this project represents a lot of hard work, a new and innovative way to handle major infrastructure projects, and I want to thank everybody that's here today to celebrate with us.
By unanimous vote, which doesn't happen often, the California Coastal Commission approved the Public Works Plan for the NCC program. This comprehensive document is the blueprint for highway, rail, environmental, and community projects in the North Coast Corridor for the next 40 years. That was a very hard thing to get, and we got it because of the cooperation that we had working with the Coastal Commission and their staff, and so I'm really pleased today that Gabe Burr is joining us from the Coastal Commission.
The mission of the Coastal Commission is to protect and enhance our state's coastline for current and future generations. And we accomplish this through careful planning and regulation of environmentally sustainable development, public participation, education, and intergovernmental collaboration. So as you can imagine, we appreciate the long-standing coordination we've had with Caltrans and Sandag in developing a comprehensive plan for the North Coast Corridor that balances the transportation needs of the region with the preservation and enhancement of the coastal environment. The PWP, which serves as the master plan and permit for the North Coast Corridor program, came together after significant input from a large group of interested stakeholders. And this type of collaboration ensured the proper balance of protecting the coastline while enhancing transportation choices. This integrated approach has become a statewide model for a comprehensive planning effort that involves early and frequent coordination with interested stakeholders, a wide array of objectives, and a long-term vision for improvements. The first phase of construction of this program begins here today with the addition of carpool lanes along I-5 and double tracking of the rail corridor across the lagoon. The new highway and rail bridges will be lengthened to improve lagoon tidal flow and designed to accommodate future changes associated with sea level rise. Additionally, as a part of this first phase, the San Alejo Lagoon Conservancy, in partnership with Caltrans and Sandag, will restore the San Alejo Lagoon and preserve precious coastal habitat while creating new bike and pedestrian linkages as well, which in turn will increase public awareness and access to these coastal resources. This first phase exemplifies the goals of the PWP by creating improved transportation and public access connections, while also preserving and enhancing important coastal resources. Going forward, this synergistic approach taking place here at San Alejo Lagoon will be replicated all along North Coast Corridor, with hundreds of acres of enhanced and preserved coastal habitat, miles of new bike and pedestrian connections, and a host of improvements to the highway and rail infrastructure to encourage alternate modes of transportation. Again, I want to reiterate our appreciation for this partnership with Caltrans and Sandag, and the shared commitment to improving the area's transportation system while protecting, preserving, and enhancing the coastal environment. Thank you all.
Traffic is going to get worse in the coming months. I'm just trying to set your expectations here. So we're asking for your patience, and your planning is going to be really important. And we're also asking you to remember that there's people in those machines and behind those barriers. So for your safety and for their safety, I want to remind you to be work zone alert. For 20 years, our next speaker has been dedicated to the San Alejo Lagoon Conservancy. We have formed a unique partnership to ensure we leave this area better than we found it. I would like to introduce San Alejo Lagoon Conservancy Executive Director, Doug Gibson.
I am honored to be here to celebrate this key milestone for the North Coast Corridor program and a watershed moment for the San Alejo Lagoon Ecological Reserve. We are happy to be here at the San Alejo Lagoon to announce the start of the North Coast Corridor program. Our organization has spent the last 20 years studying this lagoon to make sure that we put forth the right restoration project for this lagoon. With 30 years of organizational experience, we are in a unique position to maintain the oversight through the implementation phase with the other partners of this program. And in the spirit of collaboration and with years of dedicated work, I'd like to recognize our partners in this project. Sandag, Caltrans, the Army Corps of Engineers, the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, and the County of San Diego have been key critical partners. Our stakeholder group includes local, regional, state, and other federal agencies as well. I'd like to call out one in particular, the California State Coastal Conservancy and the Southern California Wetlands Recovery Project that has invested in our organization for the last 20 years. And without their support, we wouldn't be standing here today looking at restoring this lagoon. I'm looking forward to continuing these partnerships to ensure the successful restoration of the San Alejo Lagoon. The restoration will occur in the first phase of projects so that the environmental benefits that are implemented sooner rather than later in the project. This is a direct result of Senator Kehoe's inked legislation that put the environmental work up front. And Deanna, I appreciate the efforts in making sure that we recognize these environmental benefits sooner. The San Alejo Lagoon Ecological Reserve is a very special place, not just to me, but in its 1,000 acres, we represent a very diverse habitats of wetlands and coastal systems, and are home to more than 700 plant and animal species, which many of them are rare and endangered. Protection and restoring this critical habitat is essential for this system's future. Traditionally, urban and infrastructure development has encroached upon this lagoon, and as a result, a loss of this critical habitat has slowly progressed over the last century. When voters approved Proposition A in 2004, they also approved funding to begin to help mitigate the past and the future impacts transportation infrastructure has caused the environment. The North Coast Corridor program's goals to enhance local and regional transportation while protecting and restoring coastal habitat provide a new approach to comprehensively addressing the needs of not only this lagoon, but the other lagoons as you move up the corridor as well. This partnership is very unique. Groups like the Santa Leo Lagoon Conservancy design and develop restoration plans all the time. But we typically leave out infrastructure, especially major freeways and rail bridges that we know we don't have the capacity to change. Through this partnership, highway and rail bridges have been lengthened to restore the true natural tidal circulation, which is paramount to supporting overall lagoon function. Restoration of this system will also include the removal of unnatural buildup of organic material that's as a result of past uses and daily runoff from the Escondido Creek watershed. The removal of these sediments will improve water quality and help restore lagoon health. In addition to restoration, the program includes trail improvements in and around the lagoon that will significantly improve coastal access to all. These new connections will further one of our organization's strategic objectives of connecting communities. New trail connections will finally connect this nature center to Solana Beach. For the first time, there will be a trail that connects the Solana Beach side to the coast. Since 1890s, the rail has been an impediment to the trail system. We will now have an undercrossing that connects Rancho Santa Fe to the beach. So we're very excited that this day is here. I know that everyone in their own silos have worked to get their projects through. Our organization would like to thank everyone involved in this comprehensive plan to improve the Santa Leo Lagoon and the overall coastal environment. Your dedication demonstrates a sincere commitment to preserving and enhancing our coastal resources so they continue to be enjoyed now and for all future generations. Thank you very much for all of your support.
So as I mentioned, your commute's about to get a little bit trickier, but we're going to help you a little bit. So KeepSanDiegoMoving.com has added a Build NCC link to the website, and you can also search the hashtag Build NCC on Twitter. And if you can't remember all that, we have display boards down below where you can check it out. Okay, I also want to take a moment again. Alan Kossop, where's Alan? Alan is at the head of this group, and he's done a tremendous job bringing together a lot of different agencies, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well we manage through construction. But thanks to Alan and his team. Really amazing job putting all this together.